Every day, people make assumptions, occasionally innocuous, occasionally transformative. But what occurs when those assumptions have negative effects that nobody can avoid? Anticipated that this tale would leave you, wondering how much you actually let us know about the folks in your immediate vicinity. Tell us in the comments if you have any experience with wrongly assessed. Your story may be more. The subtle chime is more powerful than you may imagine, of the glass in the dealership hardly recorded above the din of informal talking and clicking heels against the showroom's polished flooring, shining with a procession of opulent, sleek luxury automobiles situated underneath trophy-style lighting. The aroma of fresh polish and luxurious leather flooded the air that promises exclusivity to those Monica. Rowan took a step that was judged worthy, within her footwear, creating an almost imperceptible sound. She tapped the shiny tile she was looking. Audi Sharp looks well with expensive purses. Quiet discussions regarding performance, specifications, and unique directives. She wasn't here to make an impression. However, she was fully aware of the type of response she would receive upon entering in this manner. A young, black woman wearing a basic jeans and a form-fitting blazer, her natural. The curls barely fit in a loose bun. The characteristics of her typical customers saw how the eyes of the salespeople, stunned by her abrupt dismissive. Not only was it ignorant, but it was also disinterested. Was a conscious choice to act as though she wasn't behind the front. Countersalming the receptionist hardly gave her a glance. She asked, "Computer, can I help you?" Tone that oozes the same lack of interest. Monica's expression provided a courteous grin. "I wanted to glance at a few of your recent displays." The receptionist's well-groomed. The keyboard hesitated for a moment before she apologized to Monica for the offense. Her eyebrows arch almost. It was the barely noticeable curtsy of her lip. Faint, but Monica had already noticed it. "Quiet. Is she worth my time, in my opinion?" A moment later, the response was evident to us. "The sales crew is currently quite busy." She inclined her head in the direction of the 3 salespeople on the showroom floor standing, none of whom appeared to be busy. "However, you are welcome to browse around." Monica stifled a smile that sprang to her face. "I even predicted this due to," she remarked softly as she was walking by the desk while she moved through the dealership. She observed the stark disparity in how a guy is treated in a silver hair-shined and a fitted suit. Loafers entered and went inside. A moment later, one of the salespeople was at his side, shaking his hand firmly and greeting, with a kind grin. Monica paused, close to her, running her fingers in a sleek black automobile, over the level surface $180,000 basic price. She was aware of the details, knew by heart, that under the hood was an engine with a panther-like purr in waiting. She wasn't only curious, was present with a purpose. Yet even as she stood next a vehicle that was more expensive than not a single one in some people's homes, a salesman came up to her on the other side of lead salesperson. Bradley Connors on the floor, observing. His arms while leaning on a desk were crossed, making his face inscrutable. However, Monica was aware of his type. He was the one who used the gatekeeper role to determine who was worthwhile and who wasn't. He in the end sighed and pushed off the desk, approaching her with a man-forced stroll into and duty considering improving your. He offered Monica to ride, and she turned, catching she grinned at the hint of sarcasm in his voice. Bradley said something along those lines. Solitary, slow nod, his eyes darting to the vehicle, then returned to. "She is the most recent model you're examining, a high performance. Bill in its entirety, packed with the greatest features. But precisely what the majority of folks begin with, huh?" There it was. The carefully prepared phrases. He stated that the majority of people the belief that she was not welcome in. Monica crossed her in this exchange. "It's nice to know you have arms playing along." Bradley squinted at the keys as though it had been a foreign language inquiry. "Unless you want to take a test drive, prefer that I buy anything without one." For Bradley paused for a second. This was the section when his intuition conflicted with rationality. His intuition told him she wasn't a purchaser, but she was also. His smile wavered before he could be sure. Pushed it back so I could see what I could accomplish. He left Monica standing. As he left, she observed him leaning near the automobile. Something being spoken by another salesman. The second man shook his head and laughed, Monica, amused, let her eyes to roam on the showroom's far end as a towering, well-dressed man entered. The two salesmen immediately pulled away from the doors, from their discussions to welcome him. Mr. Whitmore, welcome to Sterling Motors. It's always nice to notice the change. Monica exhaled as if it were day and night. Slowly she grew accustomed to it, although it's still amazing to see Bradley returned a few seconds later with a phony smile, clearly established. In fact, where a little test drives are by today due to a lack of staff. You are invited to make an appointment exclusively. Timetable. Monica cocked her head once. And that's that dude over there is fascinating. Entered and is already receiving Bradley's. Face wavered at one point, but he bounced back fast and Mr. Whitmore is Monica, a repeat customer, interrupted. Displaying a finger. Bradley. That's the distinction. Paused for a brief moment as well. He sighed and remarked, we just have a long look. Specific procedure if you're sincere about. Well, I'd be delighted to see. Monica grinning. Bradley's brows, I swear. She nodded and reached into the air, lifting you, taking her phone out of her pocket. She called a number without saying anything else, and placed it at Bradley's ear. Despite his obvious perplexity, he stayed. He stared in silence, moving slightly. After a beating, she remarked, Hey, Monica. Casual voice. Yes, I'm at the dealership. It appears that your team has their hands full, but I'm not, huh? Get a lot of assistance, but it's okay. I'll just take care of it myself, she said, pausing. Smiled courteously as she looked at Bradley. Sure, I'll wait. Monica slipped out of the call. Bradley put her phone back in her pocket, moved once more, crossing his arms. And who was? Monica's smile remained unwavering. Oh, just someone who is able to, please do anything to moderate her tone. Made Bradley's, confidence unfazed, hesitate at the main desk. The receptionist abruptly straightened her posture, her fingers swiftly tracing the keyboard a little distance apart from the other. The salesman's gaze quietly shifted in the direction of Monica as though realizing. After a moment, Bradley's phone buzzed. He took it out of his pocket and looked at it as soon as he saw the name on the screen. His whole stance made Monica tense, just folded her arms and observed him. Issue? She inquired in a casual voice. Bradley forcefully swallowed something that had changed, in the space, and Monica was simply obtaining. Bradley could hardly hear the muttering at first, of his co-workers while gazing at the Derek's name flashed on his phone screen. The regional manager, Lawson, his fingers clenched on the gadget. He may have communicated with Derek twice in his whole professional life, and neither. The call had been informal and came from. His throat was dry as he intended mischief. He took a step back and turned slightly away from Monica prior to saying, Hello, Mr. Lawson responded, feigning a smile as though. The voice on the screen was visible to Derek. The crisp, no-nonsense Bradley was at the other end. What on earth is happening over there? Bradley quickly looked at Monica, who was observing him almost amusedly emotion. He looked aside once more and, you just received a call, sir. What do you mean? From a highly significant individual stating at the dealership they're not being helped. Derek say that you were cut by his tone. Would you mind telling me about Bradley's? My thoughts were racing. Who had Monica phoned, and why? Derek engaged, but I didn't acknowledge that you were unaware of. Derek repeated, sort of lowering his voice. That caused Bradley's tummy to growl. Are you telling me that you're unable to appreciate a high-value client as they enter the fucking? Bradley's face was scorched by the other door. Salespeople pretended not to look at Eve's decrease, but he sensed their interest. The receptionist across the room, Tina, had sat up straight in her chair, gaze darting between Bradley and Monica, with expanding. Bradley stumbled. I was just interested in, I was going to help her, but you weren't Derek. You were making excuses, and I snapped. Bradley's mouth tightened, frantically sought a means of escape for any sort of justification that would not make him appear totally untrained. But Monica was standing with their arms crossed. Dirk, please wait and attentively listen to me. Continuing, you will personally help her with everything she needs. We'll do it right now. And if I receive even one another grievance over the way you and I are running the dealership today, will be of a very new sort of Bradley. The lion died during the talk. quickly released his hold on the phone. Tensing up before he turned back slowly, she lifted her brow at Monica. Everything is well, but Bradley pushed another. It didn't seem right on his face to grin. There is a lot of tension in the room. Tina abruptly moved away from her. Desk, would you want a water bottle? Bradley tensed as you browsed. Monica had hardly been recognized by Tina when she initially entered, she was going above and above to provide. Monica took a quick look at her, pondering before nodding slightly. That's really great, Tina. Thank you. Almost ran to the little refrigerator. Bradley felt a dry mouth behind the desk. He turned back to Monica. But where was he? Were you going to give it to me? Keys, Monica said with ease. Bradley twisted in the stomach. He looked over his Tate's shoulder, one of the junior salespeople who have previously observing the entire conversation at a glance, with a mixture of sympathy and laughter. Michael a lazy shrug. Dude, you'd best follow her instructions. Bradley let out a breath from his nostrils and reaching grudgingly into his pocket, he hesitantly took out the key fob 40. Seconds before it is discovered to be holding it out, Monica accepted it silently and continued walking. To the premium sedan's driver's side, she slid her hand along the door. Inside with such ease that it was obvious she wasn't new to vehicles like this. Bradley felt his dignity dissolving. He knew Monica, what was going to happen next. Hit the ignition switch and the vehicle. The engine purred as it roared to life. A few heads turned in, satisfied beast the showroom, including the clients who weren't listening before but now. A look at her direction rattled Monica. He suppressed his fury. With casual precision, the seat was adjusted, clutching the steering wheel as though she would completed it 1,000 times before. To her looked up to him and asked, "Are you?" Bradley hesitated to arrive, although he had wanted, avoiding this is the only option. Interaction. But he was now at a loss as to whether. Personally, Derek discovered that he didn't, it would be professional suicide to go with her. He tightened his teeth and pushed himself to Monica was slipped in from the passenger side. Smirked you. Appeared like you're in agony. Bradley maintained a neutral look, just it didn't seem exciting to do my work, like though you were only a few minutes ago. He strengthened his hold on the seat. Should we? Monica didn't respond. She just, after putting the vehicle in drive, I got out of the dealership's showroom onto the private road test drive as soon as they reached open pavement. The vehicle moved forward with ease. With ease, the power hums underneath. Monica drove confidently, taking seamless curves that accelerate just enough to experience the engine's unadulterated power. Bradley was seated rigidly next to her, so Monica stated, "How long have you been conversing?" Bradley, who worked here, didn't glance at her. 4 years is a long time, she thought. To you. His jaw must be good at his job. Twitched since he didn't like the location. Monica proceeded to tap her fingertips on the, I always locate the steering wheel. It's fascinating how customer service jobs determine who is deserving. Their focus, which is actually a talent, the ability to judge someone's worth in seconds. Bradley maintained his gaze straight. Monica, I don't pass judgment on others. Laughed. Are you certain about that? Silence heated Bradley's face as it filled the vehicle. Monica stepped on the gas pedal. The vehicle reacts immediately as they sailed around a bend, I must admit, she continuing, her voice bright. This is awesome car, outstanding workmanship, top echelon performance. A dealership would be fortunate to have someone who truly represents it. Bradley breathed out, I care about customers. This woman pricked him in the nose. She, whomever she was falling beneath his skin in a manner that was unfamiliar to him. Reached the test's last section. Driving route, Monica reduced the speed of the vehicle, returning it to the showroom. The Bradley practically flung himself as they parked. Stepping out, the passenger door opens. Monica, as fast as if he needed oxygen, meantime took her time. She switched off the engine, touched the steering with her fingertips. Wheel one final time before leaving. She handed Bradley the key fob. She smiled and replied, Thank you for your time. Bradley hesitated, then almost amused. Naturally, they nodded rigidly as they moved. Tina was waiting back inside with an apprehensive smile. Did everything go smoothly? Monica looked at Bradley and replied, Oh. She teased him in a tone that was excellent, a representation of Sterling Motors. Bradley's stomach began to twist once more. He believed the moment was over, but as he believed he might escape. His phone buzzed as a result of this conversation. He looked down at Derek Lawson a second time. His fingers felt cold when he called. Bradley. Derek's voice came to an answer. By being calm and steady in your current location. I am en route. Bradley's heart fell. He carefully raised his eyes to see. Monica gave him a knowing look. Plucking at the corner of her lips with a grin, he sensed that things wasn't finished yet. Lessen the conflict at the dealership was sufficiently thick to be sliced with a knife. Bradley Connor stood near the front desk holding his phone with Derek's thoughts is racing with clammy hands. Lawson was en route. There was no call or animail, but arriving here didn't imply anything. Tina was nice, pretending to be busy at the desk, but her glances toward Bradley were filled with interest and a trace of Schadenfreude and his fellow salespeople. Michael was among those who stayed away, although there was no question they were paying. Monica, pay special attention in the interim, maintained her composure with ease, leaned nonchalantly against the shiny hood of the same high-end vehicle they owned. Her look was just driving arms. She was loving this Bradley, but it was illegible. Loudly inhaled and ran a hand down his face. He had to avoid this appearance. As he got closer, he said, forcing a smile, Monica, I believe we might have started the wrong foot earlier. Let's start anew if you're thinking about getting a purchase. I would be delighted to. Monica stopped him with a finger. You know, she said, tilting in the middle of her sentence. Her head tilted slightly in the direction of first. It appears that you are unable to. You set the tone for the moment, so redo them. After examining me, you concluded that I wasn't. It's worth your time, Bradley, I churned, before he could muster a feeble response when the glass door opened. A tall man in a tailored navy suit stepped inside. Derek Lawson, his presence commanded immediate attention. His polished dress shoes barely made a sound against the tile, but the weight of his authority was deafening. His sharp gaze swept across the showroom instantly, locking onto Monica and Bradley. Bradley swallowed. Hard. Derek didn't hesitate. He strode directly toward them, his expression unreadable, stopping just short of Monica. And then he smiled. Rowan. Derek greeted smoothly, extending a hand. My apologies for the service you've received today. I trust you'll allow me to make up for it. Monica took his hand in a firm shake, her own smile. Easy and composed. I appreciate that. Derek. Bradley's stomach plummeted the way she said his name, the ease of it, the familiarity. The pieces clicked too late. Monica Rowan wasn't just someone, she was someone important. Derek turned his smile, vanishing as he shifted his attention to Bradley. Mr. Connors, he said coolly, walk me through what happened here today. Bradley felt every pair of eyes in the showroom settle on him. His mind scrambled for mag control, but there was no self-aging this. I wasn't aware of Miss Rowan's status when she arrived, he stammered. Derek raised a brow. Her status? Bradley cleared his throat. I didn't know that she was a customer, Derek. Cute and nicely, or that she was your employer. A oppressive quiet came over the room. Bradley's face, drained of color plus note, a VIP client, not a corporate investor. Lo, the other sales associates exchanged wide-eyed glances. Even Tina, who had spent most of her time pretending not to listen, dropped all pretense of working rightly, opened his mouth, but no words came out. Derek exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of his nose as if trying to contain his irritation. Miss Rowan owns a controlling interest in Sterling Motors. She is one of your direct superiors, and instead of showing her the deference and professionalism provided to each customer, you dismissed her. Do you have any idea how bad that looks? Bradley's head was spinning. He felt exposed, stripped of every ounce of control he had just hours ago. Monica remained, silence, observing him with that same unreadable expression. Derek proceeded, his voice like a hammer. Do you know what the goal of this visit was, Mr. Connor? Bradley pushed himself to shrug his head. Derek motioned toward Monica. She was doing an evaluation of this location, a test. He inhaled, abruptly, and, it's safe to say you failed. Bradley felt his pulse in his ears. His whole career, his position, his reputation was hanging by a thread. Monica finally spoke, her voice Even you are aware that I entered this room today in anticipation of seeing what sort of this dealership's customer service is really, provides a version that is not reserved for individuals who appear the part. Yet the type of the average person's therapy Radley was unable to look her in the eye. And I discovered that Monica went on. Adjusting a little, I discovered that several of your staff members understand professionalism. Indicates that Michael straightened Bradley's gut twisted a little. Further, and then there's you. Monica said, her tone dropping into something sharper, who, determined within seconds that I wasn't worth your attention, rejected me, who just had a change of heart. As soon as he saw that he had made error, Bradley forcefully swallowed. Derek crossed his arms. Miss Rowan, what would you like to do about this? Monica didn't respond immediately away. She researched Bradley. Her face for a minute, he was contemplative, and hoped she could issue a warning and let him off. But then she grinned, but not in a funny way. Even a victorious one. A last one. I believe that some reform is necessary. Simply effective, she remarked. The word struck him instantly, like a derrick, nodded without taking a physical hit. Understanding his hesitancy, he turned to Bradley. Get your belongings. Bradley's lips went dry, but Derek stopped him. Finish, you won't have a job anymore. As of right now, with Sterling Motors, a formal notice of termination will be provided. To you, in addition to the required documents. Bradley's breath caught in his throat. Searched the area as though anticipating someone to leap in to support him. But nobody. Monica didn't grin or be gloating. She simply observed Tina getting busy, herself at her desk once again, avoiding eye contact, speak with the other sales representatives. Stay still. Creating themselves. Bradley had been as unseen as possible. Derek felt so little that he turned to the squad as a whole, his voice carrying, let today serve as a reminder to authority that every client is important to us. However, we don't evaluate people according to our presumptions, not choose who merits our time depending on. He looked back at Monica's looks. There will be some changes made to this dealership. Significant modifications under Miss Rowan's leadership. I advise everyone to pay attention to the weight of his remarks hung over the room. Bradley's heart was racing as he stood still. Monica moved in his direction. Her voice was lowered just enough for only him to hear that I believed I was simply next time. She whispered to another customer. Avoid making such error with someone who has that. She left after turning around, standing among the wreckage of his own conceit, and for the first time, Connor came to understand what it really meant. To misinterpret someone's quiet in the long after Monica. The dealership. Bradley stood still as he went away, attempting to comprehend what had just occurred once, and he was the one making the decisions, being the best salesperson, someone who controlled who he paid attention to and who wasn't aware that he was unemployed. Just like the Derek turned without lingering, scanning their FA to the other staff members. There is new management at this dealership. He spoke in a forceful yet controlled tone. You don't take anything else today. Your actions are a reflection of your ideals, of this business. If you are unable to fulfill the standards for handling each and every client respectfully, you have no place here. When someone spoke, Bradley's gaze darted around. He looked in the direction of his co-workers, forpity for someone to intervene, but nobody. Michael looked at him for a moment, but simply gave Tina's eyes a head shake, flashed with an almost pitying expression. However, she instantly averted her gaze from Bradley's. With his chest constricted, he opened his mouth to argue or make any kind of appeal, but Derek had. I've already gone on. Gather your belongings. Derek gave the order, making no space for conversation. Bradley's throat tightened, but nothing remained to claim that he turned with rigid motions and headed for his workplace. His footsteps reverberated around the still showroom. Every step deepens the truth. Beneath his. Monica observed Bones from a distance. Her arms remained crossed, and her face, she didn't enjoy being unreadable. Seeing him fall apart wasn't about. It was about accountability and retaliation. She returned her focus to Derek, measured his voice. He wasn't alone. Derek nodded. This is a problem. I know, Monica. Took a deep breath. Tina, we must establish a new standard. That had been seated at her desk in silence. Miss Rowan sat up taller all of a sudden. Monica looked at her and Tina paused, then squared her shoulders. I only wanted to express that I apologize. I should have handled things. Not the same as when you initially entered. Monica looked at her for a while before giving a little nod. You may still. Tina's eyebrows raised a little. And Monica surprised me by giving me a little. Being aware of a grin that is contingent upon you're prepared to contribute to the transformation. That's coming, Tina said with a swift nod. Without a doubt, Derek replaced Miss Rowan. We'll be carrying out a thorough assessment of our guidelines and protocols. There will be required instruction, and we'll be reorganizing the way that customer service is managed. Michael from the ground up, who'd been silently listening before speaking. Is this the section where we all locate? Monica grinned and said, that depends. Are you involved in Michael's issue? Hey, I've been telling him to raise his hands for years that we must take action. I don't mean to offend, but I've seen Bradley treats people like trash because far too long. However, I would really like to see. Monica nodded as she noted some changes in the area. Ed, if you're okay, let's start working. She looked at Derek. So let's begin by making certain that going ahead, each employees are aware of how our reputation is defined by how we serve our consumers. No more assumptions, no more gatekeeping according to appearance. Derek agreed, nodding. Begin putting everything in order. Monica instantly glanced around the showroom, observing the changing energy. There was conflict, yet there was also something otherwise she wouldn't have prepared for today. Will become a comprehensive revision of the dealership. But perhaps that was precisely what had to occur for a few seconds. Afterwards, Bradley came out of his office. He was holding a cardboard box, and his face was pallid. He simply strolled by without saying anything. He once excluded the front floor doors and into the future as soon as he was gone. It seemed like the whole room, released. Monica waited for the quiet to subside before taking care of the remainder employees, that this dealership will soon become a location where anybody can stroll, participate, and receive the same degree of show respect. If you are unable to, now is the time to walk, so get behind it. Nobody moved, so Monica grinned. Let's improve this location. As the workers gradually started to return to their chores, some of them quietly talking about what had recently occurred, and others had followed right away, straightening their bodies as though they were excited. Monica looked to, do you think they'll adjust? She asked Derek. Derek, if they wish to maintain their jobs. They grinned. Monica will laugh and shake her. Headstrong because I'm not leaving. She allowed her eyes to wander throughout the showroom. Feeling things settle for the last time within her, today had been more than just her exp experience. It had included establishing a new norm, and she was fully prepared to have ensuring that criterion was fulfilled.